I'm afraid the sun has gone back in again. And Elliott again trying to nip across the gap, because if Malcolm Elliott can see the front in the sprint, then there's a good chance he'll win it. He's won some great sprints this year around the world.
Well, Elliott being very careful today, making sure no brakes go away, because if a brake does go away, Malcolm Elliott, with just Nick Barnes there to help him, won't have much chance of bringing the race back together. So he's being very vigilant and making sure that every time a move goes, he tries to be present.
And Rob Holden giving us a little glimpse there of his speed. As I say, he rode in the World Championships in Japan, which is an impossible quest for him, because a diet of smaller races like these over short distances are not really what is required for the 160 miles World Championship road race. But even so, Rob got into the breakaway very early on and lasted a long time before calling best. And it was from that breakaway that the silver medalist at the World Championship, Dirk de Wolf, finally emerged. The gold medalist Rudy Garland, he came across in the closing laps. Now Steve Dowse having a little go.
Well, Steve Dowse, another man who races for 12 months of the year. Steve Dowse has this year joined the Rally mountain bike team, but Steve also rides cyclocross like Barry Clark through the winter, and he's one of those riders who races for 12 months of the season. Quite an incredible feat. I really don't know how he manages to do it.
Well, they picked him up, and Malcolm Elliott goes through, willing to keep this pace high, and that's the essence here today. The constant speed of this surely is going to cause a group in the end to go clear. And Elliott feels it might be now, because he's pushing on. 50 minutes raced, and it's always left to the Banana Falcon boys to try and close down the attacks. The Ever Ready Halfords team are riding a different type of race, because they're thinking of their leader Mark Walsham. But it's interesting now that Mark himself is playing close order to the front of the main field as well. You can just catch a glimpse of him in the black crash helmet, white jersey, always near the front of the pack.
There's Tony Doyle reacting at the front of the pack as well there. We've got a break developing here with Keith Reynolds in second place there, and Nick Barnes from Malcolm Elliott's own team. There's Doyle at the front. He's actually forced an acceleration to go clear of the main field. Barry Clark in there with him, with Chris Lillywhite and Adrian Timmis just tagged on the back. Hilton McMurdo on the front of the field, trying to come back together.
Another dangerous looking move, trying to break away. It was started by Malcolm Elliott, and Lillywhite's latched on, and Nick Barnes, Elliott's teammate. There's only two of them here, the two British boys based on the Spanish Teca team. But Doyle is more concerned by the presence of Lillywhite in that escape, and he's trying to chase them down.
There's Mark Walsham still in the front of the main field there, probably a little bit worried about this move, because as we know, Chris Lillywhite has got back up to the front here. So Lillywhite's still in with a chance of winning overall, but there's Malcolm Elliott. He'll be the man who wants to win this, and if Malcolm Elliott could win from a group like this, then Mark Walsham will take away the leader's jersey tonight.
That's quite correct. It's all about points and working them out here today, because Mark Walsham leads with 17 points overall, and Chris Walker is second, 4 points back with 13 points. So really, Walker, if he wins today, Walsham must finish no worse than fourth to confirm himself as the winner. But of course, if Lillywhite, who's in our picture at the moment, does escape and succeed, then of course he'll get 6 points for the victory, and it'll depend where Walsham finishes as to whether Lillywhite can run out the leader. Two leaders away at the moment.
That's in fact Keith Reynolds from the Banana team, who's got away there with Nick Barnes. They waited for the main field to come back into contention, and they've jumped away to try and cause a surprise.
Heading up towards Big Ben, Keith Reynolds replacing Lillywhite at the front. And Reynolds himself lying in 8th place overall, but no chance of endangering Walsham's overall lead. There's been no let-up at all in the speed of this race this afternoon.
Well, you can judge the speed now for yourselves, because you can see the gaps appearing all the way down this line, and the riders suffering to hang on to that wheel in front of them. It's getting very difficult now, and I'm sure it can't be very long before we see a breakaway develop.
Reynolds and Barnes, they almost collided just then as they approached that corner too. They're both looking in opposite directions. Well, for the first time for quite a few minutes, the field has come back together again. Reynolds stretching, trying to weaken the bunch up, try and get Chris Walker or Chris Lillywhite or Dave Rayner, all three his teammates, off the front of the group.
Well, there's Chris Lillywhite in 4th position on the road at the moment. He's probably waiting just for Barry Clark to bridge the gap there so that he can launch a counter-attack. Chris Walker is in there somewhere. We haven't seen him for some time. He'll probably be waiting to launch a nice attack as well. There's the hooter going again, announcing that next lap there's another lap prize.
Well, we had Johnny Clayaway for the first time through. Then we had a sprint between Paul Curran and Steve Jockin winning that one. Now, is anybody going to try and nip off the front, or are we going to be treated, Paul, to our first bunch charge for the cash, and then we'll see just who the sprinters are today?
Well, that'll be the first chance for them to flex their muscles against each other as Adrian Timmis tried to jump away there. It's all back together as we're coming down back straight here. Dave Mann at the front looking round to see if anybody's going to attack. It may well be that this is going to be the first time that they all challenge for the lap prize as one bunch.
Dave Mann bringing them out of Northumberland Avenue onto the embankment. And then they'll go down the embankment, then we go round the horseshoe inside the House of Parliament and then line up for the finish.
The most important thing is to arrive at the mark first, and you got it a lot easier.